Hello, my name is Amani Bienvenue, and I'm from Côte d'Ivoire. I am a PhD student at the University of Jean-Guédé in Daloa. In this 58th annual meeting of the ATBC, I'm going to present a work on the importance of both local and regional conditions on the trajectories of restoration of certain attributes of secondary forests in West Africa. This could help in the decision-making of technical choices for management of the secondary forest. The theme of this study is both local and regional environmental conditions contribute to the natural restoration trajectories of West African forest. So, what is the context of this study? In West Africa secondary forests are resulting from the abandonment of agriculture field play an important role in today's landscape. They provide a wide range of goods and services to human societies. On local scale, they provide firewood and non-timber forest products. On regional scale, they regulate the water cycle and provide timber, for example. And on a global scale, they contribute to the storage of atmospheric carbon and serve as reservoirs of biodiversity. The main factor driving the historical expansion of secondary forests in West Africa is the development of family farming linked to rapid population growth. Regarding the supporting context of this study, let us say that internal there is a lack of knowledge on the recovery trajectories and the main local and regional determinants of the reconstruction of forests in this region of the world. This is despite the crucial importance of the secondary forests resulting from agriculture follows in the functioning of human societies and in the structuring of West African landscape. Indeed, locally, the main factors controlling recovery trajectories are relatively identified today. Firstly, the remnant trees, which significantly modifies the microclimate of the secondary forest and attracts dispersing animals such as monkeys and bats, allowing a faster recolonization by them. The crop duration before the farmers abandoned the land also strongly influence the recovery rate. Finally, forest connectivity is crucial as the whole growth. Forests serve as seed reservoirs and often constitute habitats for dispersing animals. On the other hand, on a regional scale, the influences of climate variability on ecosystem recovery rates, as to our knowledge, never been addressed in West Africa, and yet these climatic constraints are a key to understanding the spatial distribution of species. Also, very few studies have shown the relative importance of local and regional factors on recovery trajectories. However, it is very likely that the two categories of factors interact strongly to determine the original and specific trajectories of each place. This specificity of each case may nobly hinder the implementation of large-scale public policies in the context of a various initiative to restore African forest landscape. There is, however, an urgent need to study the local and regional determinants of restoration trajectories within the same conceptual framework in order to guide with a more holistic view of the restoration process of forests. So, what methodology applied in the study? We work within 3 phytogeographic zones of Côte d'Ivoire following the north-south climatic gradient. Evergreen forest in the south, semi-deciduous in the center, and dry forest in the north. To do this, we install 236 plots on a set of 8 chronosequences on the typical north-south climatic gradient in West Africa, and inventoried for each chronosequence all trees larger than 2.5 centimeters on 20 plots aged from 1 to 45 years with 4 controls per chronosequences. And finally, we estimate the height of the measured tree. Recovery rate used to predict recovery trajectories are local covariate measured in the field, such as number of remnant trees, hydromorphy, forest density. Regional covariate downloaded online from the World Clim database for bioclimatic coverage and soil grid for soil coverage. In this work, we choose to assess recovery rate of 3 attributes: biomass, biodiversity, and forest composition, because they are essential elements of ecosystem functioning, and understanding the recovery trajectories is crucial for making decisions on biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, and forest management on national scale. We parametrized an ecosystem attribute recovery equation 1, which has already successfully tested in West Africa to predict recovery trajectories for biomass, biodiversity, and timber volumes. Then, to test the effect of the covariate, they are simply integrated in the model through equation 2. The model was written in Stan and then inferred in a Bayesian framework using Hamiltonian Monte Carlo algorithm. As result, we have for this first graph, which show the recoveries rate in B and the recovery time of 90% of the initial value of the tree attribute in A. On average, biodiversity as the highest rate of recovery, followed by composition and then biomass, which is the attribute with the lowest recovery rate in West Africa secondary forest. In terms of recovery time, the restoration of 50% of the value of the tree attribute studied is reached in less than 55 years on regional scale. In contrast, it will take more than 60 years to recover more than 90% of the initial biomass and composition in secondary forest. The second graph shows the effect of local in red and regional in green covariate. Biomass and biodiversity were influenced by more covariate than composition. Temperature annual range, precipitation seasonality, soil bank density had positive effects on all attribute rates. Real annual precipitation only influence biodiversity recovery rate with a negative effect. Precipitation seasonality is the more important covariate on a regional scale, since it influences both the rate of biomass recovery, composition, and biodiversity. The effect of the remnant tree is always positive and greatest on the recovery rate of composition than on biodiversity and final on biomass. The effect of soil hydromorphy is always negative and more pronounced on composition than biodiversity, and finally on biomass. Lastly, forest density positively influences the rate of biomass recovery and negatively influences the rate of biodiversity. What can we learn from this regional analysis of forest recovery trajectories in West Africa? Firstly, for rapid restoration, local conditions are very important as they condition the initiation of secondary succession after land abandonment. Hence, we have demonstrated the great importance of remnant tree in agriculture fields and fragments of old growth forest in the nearby environment of abandoned fields to sustain the sea terrain and to create landscape connectivity that ensures the movement of disseminating animals. Secondly, regional conditions determine recovery trajectories that are specific to each studied attribute and phytogeographic zone. Finally, this result suggests that there is a need for politicians, decision makers, and other actors involved in forest management to take into account both the variability of regional climatic conditions and local conditions related to plot history and landscape context in a decision-making framework for the choice of more or less active restoration technique. Thank you.